Hey everybody, it's another book talk with Tracy, and I'm back here today talking about my Christmas story, The Best Blue Christmas. And as you can see, Christmas is approaching, and there's a few decorations happening at the Krause house. So I wanted to talk about this. It's a short story, and there you have the cover, The Best Blue Christmas. It's not available as paperback, so that's part of the reason why I only have it here on my phone to show you. But it's a story that I actually really love, and I hope you do too. It's set in the Yukon. My family used to live there for many years. We lived in the Yukon for about 8 years during the early 2000s, and so the setting is really authentic. It's one of the things I love about this story, because when I'm going into the hardware store or talking about the little log Anglican church, or even the insurance agency where the main character Cassidy lives, she lives above it. These are all real places from Watson Lake, Yukon, where I used to live. So those parts were really fun to write, and I think of course the bitter cold and all the snow and that kind of thing is real, of course, too. But the story itself is about Cassidy, and she's a young woman who has basically run away to the Yukon to get away from her traumatic childhood. She had some traumatic events happen in her past as a child at Christmas time, and so she finds the holidays really difficult and really painful. And so she decides, to just kind of skip it altogether and avoid the pain by running away, where she hopes she won't have to talk about it or deal with it. Well, of course, she meets a good-looking guy who kind of feels the same way. He has not always had the best experiences at Christmas. And so, they decide they're going to help one another out, get through the holidays. The thing that really, I think, inspired me about this story, or to write it, was an event that she goes to, and it was called the Blue Christmas event. And it takes place at the Anglican church. And this is a real thing. I went to one back in the day when we lived in the Yukon. We were very involved with the ministerial. My husband was in ministry, and we did a lot of things with all of the churches, and we're very supportive of one another. So the Anglican church put on this event called a Blue Christmas. And basically it was something for people who didn't like the holidays, because in fact, even though I love the holidays, I realize there are a lot of people who don't, for whatever reason. I mean, maybe it brings back memories of loved ones, or they've experienced traumatic things like Cassidy. So this event is for people to get together and basically talk about their experiences, and just know that they're not alone. So I went to this event, and it was actually quite meaningful and quite inspiring. There was no Christmas music, and there was we were void of all the usual Christmas trappings and all the joy and all that stuff that goes on at the holidays. But yet it was this very meaningful time for people to gather, just to express themselves and to acknowledge their pain, I guess you could say. So anyway, that is an event that I recreate, with some changes, of course, in this little short story. And Cassidy goes to that event, and then she meets her good-looking neighbor Brad there, and that's when they decide to kind of help each other through the holidays. So, of course, the tagline is, she ran away to the Yukon because she hated Christmas, but discovered Christmas isn't all that bad, depending on who you're with. So it is a romance. I mean, I like writing romance. It's definitely different than your typical romantic movie that you might watch at this time of year. Not because it doesn't end happily, but it's a little bit different angle, I think, on the Christmas season. And I hope that you enjoyed it. It's very short. It's a short story, so it's a quick read, and it's easy to read. I will be attaching a reading, actually, from the first part of the book that I did, I think, last year. So once this part's over, if you want to stick around and listen to part of the story, you're welcome to do that as well. The short story itself actually took some very interesting twists and turns. I wrote it originally in 2014. I was part of a group of authors who worked with a publisher, Helping Hands Press, and I had done a couple of collaborative projects with them. One called Colony Zero, which was a science fiction, and then I'd also published my neighbor's book originally with them. And so anyway, that publisher had, put out a call out for its authors saying, is anyone interested in writing a short story for Christmas, and we'll put them together in an anthology. So that's actually where I decided to write this story. I had never actually written anything Christmassy before, and I thought, hey, why not? I can do that. And so I wrote this short story, and it was originally published in 2014 by Helping Hands Press. But then, various things took place over the next few years, and I was no longer working with them. And so I republished it myself a couple of years ago, maybe in 2018. Not exactly sure. But in any case, there were, a few changes I made, updated it just a bit, but it's pretty much the same story. And like I said, I really like it. It's fun, it's short, and I encourage you to get a copy and read it yourself over the holidays. So that's all I'm going to say about that. As I said, I'm going to be attaching the little short video of me reading it after this. And I sure do appreciate your support. I appreciate you subscribing to this YouTube channel. I appreciate you writing reviews of any of the books that you may have read. Those are really, really helpful. And if you want more information about me or any of my books, including this one, The Best Blue Christmas, I invite you to go visit my website. It's simply tracykrause.com. There is no E in Tracy. There are 2 S's in Krause. And that's it for this time. God bless, and I hope you have a really blessed holiday season. Hello, Tracy Krause here. I thought I would read a really short piece from my latest release, which is a Christmas story called The Best Blue Christmas. So let's get started. White clouds of carbon dioxide puffed from Cassidy's mouth like smoke from the chimney as she walked to the Anglican church. She kept up a brisk pace, pumping her arms as much for warmth as anything. It was already dark, and the church was located on the outskirts of town, which meant for a longer walk than she would normally take without Fido by her side. Wild animals were always a concern in Walter Lake. Bears were no longer a danger since their hibernation season was well underway, but there was still the threat of wolves, and a few residents had even spotted a cougar in the area a month back. The smell of wood smoke filled her nostrils, and she noted the curling gray thread reaching from the church's roof into the night sky. The Anglican church was one of the oldest buildings in town, and was constructed entirely of logs, nestled on all sides among the evergreens. The stained glass windows glowed against the backdrop of darkness, casting a colorful stain on the white snow. Cassidy stopped for a moment to take it in. It was a quaint picture, like a Christmas card, and she felt an unexpected warmth filling her insides until she actually analyzed that thought. The realization that she'd just had a sentimental moment brought a frown to her face, and she huffed her way up the wooden steps to the entrance. The heavy cedar door required a good yank, and it bumped her backside on the way in. She unwound the scarf from her face, unzipped her outer jacket, and then took a deep breath, filling her lungs with the woodsy smell of the interior of the church. It reminded her of moccasins, probably because the church used wood heat to supplement the high cost of fuel, as most people did in Walter Lake. The vestibule was small and dark, with another set of doors directly in front of her. She heard voices on the other side, and laughter. She felt her stomach squeeze. It wasn't too late to turn back. The inner door swung open, and a stream of amber light reached out to illuminate the small foyer. A short and somewhat round woman of about 50 stepped out at the door as the door clunked behind her. "Welcome. I thought I heard a noise out here. I'm Reverend Jean." The older woman extended a hand, and Cassidy took it. The Reverend's grip was surprisingly firm. Cassidy withdrew her hand and stuffed it into the pocket of her parka. "Thanks. I'd normally open these doors up, but I don't want to let that draft from outside into the church." Reverend Jean's gray hair was cut in a short, boyish style. Her face had an almost childlike quality, with round rosacea cheeks and a pert smile. An oversized sweatshirt, baggy knit pants, and running shoes denied the fact that she was a woman of the cloth. The only sign of that station was the priest's collar peeking out at the neckline of her sweatshirt. "Come on in, we're about to start." And I think I'm going to end there. This was actually from chapter 4, so I'm already partway in. It's a short read. It's just a short story, only 10 chapters long. It's set in the Yukon, and I think you'll enjoy it. So thanks a lot for listening, and hopefully you'll grab your copy of The Best Blue Christmas. Bye-bye.